President Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron are starting their bilateral meeting shortly after this. They're having a little bit of a session with the media, though, and hopefully perhaps take a few questions and answers. Let's listen in.
Je crois que ce matin, ce que nous avons vécu ensemble pour célébrer le D-Day, célébrer le rôle de ces vétérans américains était un moment important. Cette promesse de Normandie, comme nous l'avons évoqué ce matin, c'est aussi ce que nos deux pays continuent de faire sur le plan international pour préserver la démocratie, la liberté, et nous allons avoir l'occasion d'en parler. C'est l'action qui est la nôtre, ensemble, en Afrique, au Levant, sur des sujets de crise internationaux, parce que les valeurs que nous portons nous dépassent. C'est pour cela que je suis toujours très heureux que le président Trump soit en France et que nous puissions ensemble travailler l'un avec l'autre. I will say a few words in English and I will repeat exactly what I say. I wanted first to thank you, dear Donald President Trump, for your presence here in this place, and thanks to your country, your nation, and your veterans. This morning, we paid this tribute to their courage, and I think it was a great moment to celebrate these people. And I think your presence here to celebrate them and their presence is for me the best evidence of this unbreakable links between our two nations, from the very beginning of the American nation and all over the different centenaries. I think this message they convey to us, and our main tribute is precisely to protect freedom and democracy everywhere, and this is why I'm always extremely happy to discuss with you in Washington, in Paris, or everywhere in country days, because we work very closely together. Our soldiers work very closely together in Sahel, in Iraq, in Syria. Each time freedom and democracy is at stake, we work closely together, and we will follow up. So thanks for this friendship. Thanks for what your country did for my country, and thanks for what you done. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I will say we've had great success working together, too. Whether it's the Caliphate, whether it was a couple of other things we did militarily, and you know what I'm talking about, and your military is excellent. My people report back, they say it's absolutely excellent, but they work very well together. This was a very special day, and I want to thank you for inviting me. This was something that was, we read about it all our lives, Normandy. And there are those that say it was the most important ever, not just at that time, but ever. And to be a part of it and to have number 75 years was very, very special. So we very much appreciate it. We met some great people today, some tremendous people, some very brave people. And I look forward to coming back. We'll be coming back. Hopefully, over the years, we'll be coming back. But it's a very special place. It's an amazing place, and it's somewhere when you think of those places of great importance. This is certainly one of the top. In the eyes of some, it's the top because of what it meant in terms of the turnaround of a very, very bad situation. That was the big turn. So I really enjoyed it. Seeing it firsthand was something, and we're going to be now discussing, first of all, this beautiful place where we ended up. I hope everybody can appreciate. I'd love you to maybe tell some of the folks in the media, just a quick, like you did me, how it started with Napoleon. It's a very interesting place that we're in. And as you know, France has many interesting places, but we'll be discussing to me, just as interesting is trade and military and all sorts of things. So we're going to spend a little time together. And then I'll be going back probably tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. We've pretty much finished up. We've had a very hectic schedule. Most of you have been with us from the beginning, but it's been a beautiful schedule. Got to know the Queen. The Queen is a great woman, as you know. And we had a very, very good talk with the United Kingdom and a lot of good talks on trade. And you know what's going on over there. It's a complex subject because of Brexit. Nobody knows where it ends up, but I know it's going to end up very well. And then we came here, and a lot of people are anxious to see what we're going to be doing together because, as you know, we know what a lot of other people don't know, we're doing a lot together. And the relationship between you and I and also France and the United States has been outstanding. I don't think it's ever been maybe as good. It's been good sometimes and sometimes it hasn't been, but right now it's outstanding. So the relationship that we've had together has been really terrific, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Levin, we're talking about in the cemetery. You both animated at one point, then you turned away from the
we were talking about the depth and the number of people killed. You know, we had they call them the guides, and they were guiding us. They were telling us what happened and when. And they talked about the first wave came in, and 92% of the people in the first wave were killed. And then the second wave came in, and it was 80% were killed. And then third wave and fourth wave. And then I guess they said the sixth wave, they broke through. It's like a dam. They broke through. And it was so incredible and so fascinating. And then you talk about bravery. But when you think 92% of the people were killed in the first wave, so it kept going down, 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 and then they break through. And it's a lot of courage and a lot of heartbreak, but an incredible victory. It's one of the most important victories, wouldn't you say? So you might want to respond to
that. I mean, you're perfectly right. We had a lot of discussions, and indeed, and all these events were described. And I think what is a very important thing, especially for young generation, having shared this word with these actual heroes, these veterans, is that a lot of things probably we take for granted were precisely conquested or protected by these guys. And a lot of these veterans, I think you told it during your speech, came back for the very first time after the war. And they came here, they took a lot of risk. They put their life at risk for our country and for liberty. And I think for a young generation in the US and in France, it's extremely important to see these veterans as actual heroes, are those precisely thanks to all these maneuvers and these actions allowed our country to be free.
In 2004, George W. Bush said here in Normandy, we would do it again for our friends. Would you say that to me?
Yeah, sure, I would.
Monsieur le Président Macron, qu'est-ce que vous dites au Président Trump pour préserver l'alliance entre alliés qui est un peu malmenée en ce moment?
I would certainly recommend that, definitely. Look, this was a great unifying situation. There's probably been seldom in history has there been anything like it. But especially when you heard about the waves of people coming in, knowing they were going to be killed, most of them, it's just an incredible thing. And then the result was, as many people died, the result was so important because we have what we have today because of things like that. And it's very sad, but I would absolutely be right there. I would be right there. We have a very good partnership. We really have a partnership. I guess maybe it's the best word. They talk about allies and they talk about many different words you can use, but we have a great partnership, France and the U.S.
Mr. President, what will you decide whether to impose additional tariffs on China?
Additional tariffs on China? Well, you mean when am I going to put the extra $325 billion worth of tariffs? I will make that decision, I would say, over the next 2 weeks, probably right after the G20. One way or the other, I'll make that decision after the G20. I'll be meeting with President Xi, and we'll see what happens, but probably planning it sometime after G20. Okay? Thank you.
Par rapport à votre question, nous avons aujourd'hui, le Président l'a dit, une relation extrêmement forte, et nous sommes, qu'il s'agisse des opérations que nous menons en Afrique ou au Levant, extrêmement liés. Et nos soldats, ce qui est, je dirais, le risque principal que nous prenons ensemble, travaillent main dans la main sur tous ces théâtres d'opération. Nous allons aujourd'hui évoquer beaucoup de sujets de tensions internationales, évidemment l'Iran, le Moyen-Orient et d'autres sujets. Et à chaque fois, je crois qu'il est important que nous puissions avoir une vue commune. Ce que ces moments nous rappellent, c'est que nous avons su vaincre le joug nazi, précisément parce que toutes les armées alliées se sont mises ensemble et parce que Nous avons été fidèles à ce qui est, je crois, très profondément au cœur de l'identité américaine et française. Le goût pour la démocratie et la liberté. Ce que j'ai voulu rappeler aussi tout à l'heure, c'est qu'on ne peut pas séparer l'amour de la patrie et le goût de la liberté, en particulier quand on est américain et quand on est français. Et nous savons ça très profondément, c'est dans nos gènes. Et donc à chaque fois que la liberté ou la démocratie sont menacées, nous agissons ensemble. Et donc nous allons le poursuivre. Le travail va continuer de se faire et à chaque fois que nous évoquons cela, nous avançons. Donc en heure qui vient, nous allons sur chacun des sujets du moment bâtir des positions communes pour pouvoir avancer. Mais je suis pour ma part extrêmement confiant. Et surtout, je tiens beaucoup à cette relation.
As you can see, we're just listening to Presidents Macron and Trump discuss the relationship between the two countries before they head off to their bilateral talks. We don't have translation, so we can't tell you exactly what Emmanuel Macron said, but the two men really playing up the common ground that these two countries share. Let's take a listen.
And they're working very hard. I know they're working very hard together. It doesn't seem to be working out, but at some point something will happen, one way or the other. It'll all work out, but I'm interested to find out how it happens also. Very big will be who's going to be your new prime minister over in the UK. That's going to be a very big thing. That's happening now. And so I think before you can think in terms of Brexit for the next few weeks, you're going to have to find out what happens, who's going to be the new leader. And that's a very interesting situation taking place. I found it to be a very sort of an amazing period of time, especially having spent so much time with the Queen, who I think is an incredible lady. But I spent so much time, and there's a lot of question marks as to who's going to be leading. And so it was very interesting talking to her, being with her for so many hours, actually, for so many. I feel I know her so well, and she certainly knows me very well right now. But we have a very good relationship also with the United Kingdom. But it'll all work out.
Mr. President, two leaders have had differences over Iran in the past. Do those differences remain, and what are you talking about today?
Well, I don't think we have differences over Iran. I don't think that the president wants to see nuclear weapons, and neither do I, and that's what it's all about. He doesn't want to see them having nuclear weapons, and I don't want to see them having nuclear weapons, and they won't have nuclear weapons. With that being said, let's see what happens with Iran. But when I became president, it's hard to believe, 2.5 years ago, now more, Iran was a true state of terror. They still are, but they were undisputed champions of terror, and that's a bad thing. And we had 14 different locations where they were fighting, causing between Yemen and Syria, but many other locations and many other battle sites. And it was all about Iran. They were behind every one of them. They're not doing that anymore. They're doing very poorly as a nation. They're failing as a nation, and I don't want them to fail as a nation. We can turn that around very quickly. But the sanctions have been extraordinary, how powerful they've been, and other things. I understand they want to talk, and if they want to talk, that's fine. We'll talk. But the one thing that they can't have is they can't have nuclear weapons, and I think the president of France would agree with that very strongly. I think that he would agree that they cannot have nuclear weapons.
I think we do share the same objectives on Iran. What do we want to do? First, you want to be sure they don't get nuclear weapon. I mean, we had an instrument till 2025. We want to go further and have full certainty on the long run. Second, we want to reduce our ballistic activity. And third, we want to contain the regional activity. I mean, these three approaches, these three objectives are important. We have, as well, a fourth common objective, peace in the region. So we have to deliver together these four objectives. This is the point. This is the point, and all the other debates are about technicalities. In order to build that, you need to start a negotiation, and I think the words pronounced by President Trump this last day are very important. We need to open a new negotiation in order to build and to get these four objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there you have Presidents Trump and Macron preparing to engage in their bilateral talks on the sidelines of these D-Day ceremonies. And the two men really playing up what they have in common, the things that they agree on. We know that at points they had some strong disagreement in a number of areas, but instead, much like they did during the D-Day ceremonies, they played up how they have worked together. The talks are probably going to be focusing on trade, but also on terrorism, an area where they share a lot of commonalities, and as you heard in the last comments there, on Iran. Of course, the U.S. pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, much to the criticism of the other signatories to that deal, France being one of them. The France wanted the U.S. to maintain its position within the deal and is very, very concerned about Iran deciding not to participate anymore. And so they'll be looking for common ground in that area. The president saying there already is common ground. No one wants a nuclear weaponized Iran, and they want to reduce Iran's influence in the Middle East. So that's probably going to be at the top of the agenda.